At the end of the day, the USU is a student union. It should be supporting students and the campus at large, and it should be showing solidarity with the NTEU. I absolutely believe that.
So could you please tell us your name, pronouns, degree and year of study?
Okay, my name is Grace Porter. My pronouns are she, her. I'm an arts student and I'm a third year.
What's your Yep.
Yeah, okay.
What's your campaign colour and slogan?
My campaign colour is red and my slogan is Put Porter on Board.
Who's your campaign manager?
Daniel Barron.
And what is your favourite USU outlet?
My favourite USU outlet, wow. If it was me last year, I'd say Courtyard, but I've really been frequenting Laneway a lot for some reason, so maybe that, yeah.
How would you describe your politics?
I would say very left-wing leaning, very openly feminist, union supporter, and environmentalist, that's what I would say.
So are there any factions that you are part of, either present or former?
Yes, I'm part of USU Unity.
Mm-hmm. Will your faction bind your decisions?
No.
Cool.
Yep. And are you part of a particular political party?
Yes, I'm in the Australian Labor Party.
Okay. Oh, good. So what inspired you to run for USU?
So basically what I would say really motivated me to run was I saw the nominations come out and I sort of did my research of what the USU does and everything. I think the USU does great work, right? But I think there are some real issues that the USU can improve on, and I honestly think it has the capability to change student lives for the better. And I feel I have some ideas towards that. And at this point, I feel I not only have the knowledge and experience from my time in student politics and also my time in clubs and societies, but I really think I have the passion and the drive to try and enact those policies on board.
And what do you think is the role of politics in USU board?
Right, yeah. So I really do think that the USU should take a part in political issues. And we have the SRC, which sort of takes part in these political issues more openly with activism and advocacy. The USU, I think the main way and the best way it can do this is through its provision of services, through its events. And I think if it does it in the right way, I think it can engage in these political issues really well.
There are 10 other candidates running, and that's quite a lot. So what do you think makes your campaign different to those?
Well, I mean, just if we can move into policy, I guess. I think I'm really I really made sure in my campaign policies to try and address the really big issues that students and young people are facing right now. So just briefly, my big first platform is like trying to fight sexual violence on campus and within clubs and societies. This sort of statistics from the NSS and SSS is 1 in 8 instances of SA take place at CNS events, and I think the USU should definitely take a part in preventing this. I can talk more about that as well, but just to get the others out of the way. Environment and sustainability on campus. Again, I think, the USU isn't going to systematically solve climate change or anything, right? But I think through the products it sells, its services, and also taking public stances on stuff like climate change, and also committing to divestment from unethical companies and companies that are horrible for the environment. All important things the USU can do. And the third thing I would say, and that's also really important, is I think the USU has a part to play in the cost of living crisis. I really think the USU can be providing some tangible and immediate aid to students. And again, the USU isn't going to systematically solve the cost of living crisis, but I think for students on this campus, if it steps up its game with services, I think it can really help students in their time of struggle.
Yeah, and then I have some parallel questions about like what sort of like activists, like other activists who work the USU should support, or basically like what's the role of activism in USU, like, and as a USU board member?
Right. So I think there's sort of three parts to this question, I would say. It's what I said before about like, yeah, the USU, it engages in politics through its services. I think it can really make the lives of students better with these political issues through its services. There's also lobbying university management on certain things. Like I would really like to see an increased number in free CAPS sessions, because right now there's just 6. And in this cost of living crisis, when people are struggling, they shouldn't have to sacrifice their mental health or let it fall by the wayside because, oh no, I need to pay my bills, I need to pay my rent. The university and the USU should be helping like facilitate like mental health and well-being, definitely. And I would also say the third thing is like board directors and the USU at large should use their status, their standing on campus, because they've got like 40k followers on Instagram or something, to stand out on these public issues. Like I have a point, like, yeah, we should publicly endorse the climate strikes. It's not like we can get every USU member out there on the streets, but I think it would mean a lot if we did like publicly say, yeah, we should support this National Day of Action. And I know like the strikes like are in a bit of an uncertain place right now, but I would like the USU, because I think it did this last year, all the faculty societies did, to go back.
Do you think like USU has a transparency issue, and if so, what would you actively do to like ensure more transparency?
The two big problems I really see is, even though they say they publish all their stuff up to date, I've got to say in my research of this, I've had trouble like finding out things directly. Like I really have to go out of my way and ask people, and that shouldn't have to be the case. It should be right there on the website. Because they always say like, oh yeah, the board meetings are up to date. They haven't been published since November. Like that's, yeah, I'm pretty sure they haven't. And then the second thing would, I can actually think of a third thing now. The second thing would be the in-camera confidentiality. Like, no, all decisions and talking through like should be transparent to your union members. I just think that's pretty self-explanatory. And the third thing is like, who's voting what on the big issues? Like I know in I forget whether it was 2020 or 2021, there was a big decision to cut workers during like the height of the pandemic. I think it's like insane that you have these student directors who are making decisions about people's employment and they don't know who's making them. I think that's and yeah, if I was to get on board, I can say I definitely like wanted to push for it to be more transparent. I would definitely speak out about that, yeah.
Along with your experience in the collectives and as SASH, in your role as SASH officer, could you, I think as part of your policy platform, addressing that in clubs and societies and through your capacity, potential capacity as board director is one of the key points. So could you elaborate on what that would look like? What you would be advocating for?
Yeah, so I guess I just answer this by kind of just explaining like my sort of vision for my policy of like fighting sexual violence. So the big one, and the one I have at the top, is having like an anonymous reporting system that is really well publicized and accessible, and one that actually respects survivors' wishes, and also having a professional like coordinator who can help facilitate these incident reports and can help support survivors. Because right now the state of things is just general incidents of SASH on university campuses. That goes through Safer Communities. I don't think it's well publicised at all. The NSSS, it reports that 3% of students like actively seek out like support and assistance. And I think only, maybe I'm getting these stats mixed up, but it's like half like even think about it or something. It's like disgustingly low, and that's one of the big problems. So I think if we have this reporting system, we publicise it, we make it accessible, and it's also specifically at CNS events, because a quarter of all instances of SASH like on university campuses in Australia happening at these CNS events. I think that would be really important as well. another big one, and this is like an idea I've kind of been thinking of for a while, is having a big campaign during O Week about sex and consent education, and also raising awareness about this like rampant problem we have. If you think about it with O Week, right, you have all these first years coming in, they're signing up to all these societies, and again, like I said before, a quarter of these incidences are going to happen in societies. Also, you have 1 in 8 instances of SASH happening at Welcome Week. You also have college students like freshly like moving in to their campuses, and I think it's 1 in 7. I can't be right. I think it's 1 in 7 instances of SASH like happen to a college student. And I think this one's from the Red Zone report, and it breaks my heart every time I read it. But like 68 college students a week in Australia like are raped. I think there's all these things happening at once. Welcome Week would be the perfect time to have like a big campaign like this. And it's kind of a counterforce to this like lad, like rape culture we have that like really dominates clubs and societies, execs, college culture, like in the university. If we have this well publicized thing, people who might be going through it or survivors, like it's a way for them to reach out, and it's a way for them to be seen and heard, and I think it's also a way to prevent more of it happening as well.